stunning allegations in the investigation into the ATF operation known as Fast and Furious. Congressman Darrell Issa has said today that some of the ATF witnesses he wanted to testify at his hearings into the matter are being intimidated by the Obama administration into canceling their appearances. Our next guest isn't very surprised. He's seen it before. He's ATF whistleblower Vince Cefalu. He is joined by his attorney, Zara Karinchak. Thank you both for coming in. Vince, great to see you again. Now, did anyone try to prevent you from testifying?
From testifying, no, sir, but from coming forward over the past 4 years, it has been nonstop. Every method and mechanism that could be used to keep me from exposing the corruption and the unethical conduct of the leadership has been used.
And they specifically said, look, we don't want you to spill the beans. We don't want you to say what was going on. We don't want you to say who might have known what was going on with this Fast and Furious.
Oh, they would never say that directly. They would just continue transferring me and exacting reprisals and retaliations against myself and other people who do come forward. They don't have to say the words. They're not that stupid.
So there's no doubt in your mind, Vince, that the ATF is trying to interfere or obstruct with this investigation.
Oh, I think it's obvious. I think it's the public record shows that.
Now, Eric Holder has gone in front of Congress and said, I didn't know what was going on with Fast and Furious, but there are indications that he did know. Do you have any doubt that Eric Holder knew?
Personally, is my opinion?
Yeah.
I don't see how we don't operate in a vacuum in the government. We have chain of commands, we have policies, and it wouldn't be consistent with our practices. I don't know what the Attorney General knew or didn't know.
Well, we are seeing a little paper trail. I don't know if that's the right term, but an email trail. There's an ATF supervisor named David Voth who was speaking out to a lot of ATF officers and agents, and he said people of rank and authority at HQ, headquarters, are paying close attention. He was speaking to folks like you, to the agents on the ground. Who did you think he was referring to?
I wouldn't want to speculate on specifically who. I know in my experience in 25 years, when that sort of statement is meant to check anybody, make sure that they know that any of their actions, whether it be blowing the whistle on these sort of things or whatever, are being monitored by those who control your destiny and your future.
Now, Zara, by the way, Zara is a former prosecutor herself. She's now working with Vince. But Zara, as a former prosecutor and as a person that's familiar with the way ATF works, is it conceivable that an operation this big would be going on without the Attorney General knowing about it?
Well, I think it's conceivable that he didn't know about it. It depends on what the people within the chain of command were doing and what they were telling each other. And so I can't say with certainty that he knew or didn't know, especially given what we know at this point. But it depends on how the chain of command is working and whether it's working properly. And it's entirely possible that the chain of command here wasn't working properly. And and obviously the hearings are trying to get to the bottom of how it was working, how the chain of command was working, and who was talking to whom, so that the people of this country can figure out actually what was really going on.
Well, as a former prosecutor, Zara, you know the way these investigations work. Do you think they're going to get to the bottom of it?
I would hope so. I have confidence that the truth will come out.
You know, Vince, either Eric Holder was lying, or I think he was a pretty poor administrator if he didn't know this was going on. I mean, one of the two. Don't you agree?
I absolutely agree. Something of this magnitude, not my words, the leadership's words, that this was some pinnacle case, which I think has now been, refuted. Surely he should have known. If he didn't, 2,000 guns is a lot of guns to put in criminals' hands without any sort of interdiction activity. I personally had contacted the Attorney General regarding some of the conduct of leadership leading up to these sort of practices.
Now, when you contacted the Attorney General, did you mention Fast and Furious? Did you mention the program?
not until absolutely after it had become public, because all of my previous reports and allegations substantiated with documentation went ignored, and the reprisals just continued and got stronger and more debilitating to me and my family. So,
Vince, hopefully we're going to find out what Fast and Furious was about, whether or not Eric Holder knew about it, whether or not he was lying or not to committees. But were there other operations like Fast and Furious or similar in their outrageousness?
I am not aware, as Agent Gill, the former attaché, and his assistant Carlos Canino stated today. This is an aberration. This wouldn't occur anywhere in a vacuum. It's just that particular field division in that arena had such a history of reprisal and abuses that they rule by fear and intimidation, and no one wanted to get involved. I don't think this is the exception rather than rule. ATF agents don't do this.
And finally, Zara, we got to run, but are you going to get compensation for Vince, or are you trying to get him to get his job back?
Well, we actually are working on that right now, and I don't really want to go into details on that. But I do want to reiterate that Vince was very important in this, in being the initial whistleblower to highlight what was going on with Fast and Furious and in helping other people to come forward and to have the confidence to come forward. And again, we don't know who exactly at the highest levels knows anything or not. And it is possible, given whether that chain of command is working or not, for people in high positions to not know. And it's not because they're not doing their job, but that someone in that chain of command could be hiding the information from them.
Yeah, well, Vince,
so
if it wasn't for folks like you, we want to emphasize you really are the hero here. You sacrificed a lot to get to the truth out. And we're just beginning to find out a lot about this because of people like you and what you have done. So we are grateful. Vince Cefalu, Zara Karinchak, thank you very much for coming in, guys. Appreciate it. Coming up on deck.